The Baltimore Ravens get a nice little win against the Indianapolis Colts in week 1 of the preseason. We talk about what happened. Keaton Mitchell and LaJohntay Wester dominating. The Ravens lose a member of their secondary and a bunch of takeaways all coming up on this instant reaction post-game edition of Locked On Ravens.
You are Locked On Ravens, your daily Baltimore Ravens podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into another edition of Locked On Ravens, your daily Baltimore Ravens podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Oestreicher of Ravens Wire, here with you on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks so much for being here and making Locked On Ravens a part of your day, your first listen each and every single day. Free and available on all podcasting platforms. That includes a video form on YouTube where you can like and subscribe to the channel, and an audio form where you can follow along and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We are a 5-day-a-week Ravens show, Monday through Friday, bringing you daily content every single weekday. Plus, we go live after every single Ravens game like this. We have episodes after every single piece of Ravens big news. That's instant reaction. Plus, we also have the Locked On Ravens squad show, which will be going live after this. And if you missed it, we actually now do Locked On Ravens watch-alongs where we react to every game play by play. I sat here for 3 hours. We had a really good time. Over 9,000 people in there. So that was really exciting over the course of the entire 3 hours. That was really fun and really I was happy it turned out the way it did. And obviously we're going to continue to evolve that. So if you're not aware of that, we do the Locked On Ravens watch-alongs now. Now you know. So we have a bunch to dive into here from this game. Ravens, they beat the Colts 24-16. There was a lot of good to talk about. There was some also not so good things to talk about. And I think that if you watch the game, I think you know what I'm talking about there. So let's start with the good. All right. I think let's be positive. This was a win. All right. Maybe if it wasn't a win, we could maybe start with the negative. But the Ravens won this game. It's preseason. So, how much do wins matter? It's conversation for sure. I actually don't know what happened with the intro in the beginning there. I think it must have just stopped and I had to start it again. But, it's preseason for everybody, right? Preseason for everybody. So the Ravens, they beat the Colts 24-16. And I think Keaton Mitchell's the storyline here, at least for me. We saw exactly what we wanted to see out of Keaton Mitchell. This was a guy that obviously coming back from his injury that he suffered at the back end of 2023. That was something that for a lot of people, it was like, man, okay, what's the next step for Keaton? How do you kind of evaluate Keaton on a year, not even just week to week for him when he came back from the injury? How do you evaluate him year to year? What we saw in 2023 compared to what we saw in 2024, there was clearly I'd say that there was clearly some confidence that he needed to gain back, right? He needed to gain it back. He did that, it felt like, tonight. He finishes the game with really a great stat line, 9 for 68 and a touchdown. He also, in the kick return game, had 3 kick returns, 64 yards. He looked fast. He looked electric. He looked speedy. Everything that you wanted to see from Keaton Mitchell, I thought that you did. I thought that we all saw it. And so I was really excited about that. Keaton's a guy that's going to play an important role for the Ravens this season. How big is that role? We don't know, but I think it certainly should be a role. He certainly should be a part of this rotation. He, Derrick Henry, Justice Hill. I mean, there's going to be some level of there's going to be some level of work that Keaton Mitchell does not get because he is not Derrick Henry, and Justice Hill obviously gives them something in that department as well. But I think Keaton should be getting anywhere from like 6 to 8 touches per game, 6 to 10 maybe on the high end touches per game. That to me is, I think, where the sweet spot is for Keaton, because we saw it tonight. He can impact the game in so many different ways. He's a player that, despite his small stature, is really good after first contact. All the Ravens running backs, by the way, were bouncing the ball to the outside really effectively, which I thought was great. It wasn't just like they were bashing their head in against the middle and seeing what they could get. They were seeing, and then, all right, I'm going to go around this. And I thought Charlie Kolar had some nice blocks. But Keaton, man, I'm just so happy for Keaton. I truly am. I'm so happy for Keaton. And I see a lot of people in the chat talking about Keaton. Mitchell's the man. He's him. And yeah, I think that Calden. We'll get to this in a little bit because I want to talk about LaJohntay Wester first before we dive into the bad. But I do want to acknowledge there was a little bit of bad there with Daniel Falele. But what Paul said here, been waiting to see Keaton play for so long. It was so good to see him playing again. Please stay healthy. Yes, please stay healthy. The Ravens, unfortunately, they lost Bilal Kone. Jordan Schultz reporting that he tore both his ACL and MCL. Was a play that, if you were watching it live, you could tell right off the jump that it was your leg's not supposed to bend that way. I didn't post the clip of the injury. It honestly shouldn't be being posted. It's a brutal injury. You have to feel terrible for him. But, the Ravens are going to have to evaluate where they are there. Robert Longerbeam, their other second-round corner, he was injured as well. He didn't play in this game, so that's tough. And actually, we just got word that Justin Wally, the Colts third-round rookie cornerback who had a great joint practice against the Ravens, he tore his ACL, and he's out for the season. So you just hate to see injuries go like this. I mean, it's football. It's going to happen, but it's tough all the way around, and your heart goes out to those guys, especially because that's their first taste of NFL action. And, a lot of promise. I thought Kone was having a good camp. That was what we were hearing. He was playing well. And Wally, again, as he played well during the joint practice. Just tough. It's tough. But, hey, you know what? If the Ravens didn't play Keaton Mitchell in their next two preseason games, I wouldn't be mad at it. I think he's earned. He showed when he needed to show. Put him in bubble wrap and don't risk anything. Although John Harbaugh actually did reveal that Rasheen Ali got banged up in this game. We'll talk about Ali in a little bit, but apparently he did get banged up, and that he said they have to evaluate where they are at that position. So I guess that might be bringing another veteran running back, because clearly they're not going to play Derrick Henry. They're not going to play Justice Hill. If they don't play Keaton Mitchell anymore and Rasheen Ali is injured, well, then Ernest Johnson and Marcus Major has the concussion. Like, you're probably going to have to bring in a guy or two at that position, but then that puts you in a weird spot with your roster because they cut John Hoyland and they didn't think they needed to. I don't think. I feel like they liked him, but they just didn't have enough roster space. What does that leave you if you have to add a couple more running backs into the equation? I thought Ali had a tough beginning of the game. Didn't think he looked great, but he ended up turning it around. He had a great drive. He had a huge kick return for 69 yards. So shout out to Rasheen Ali. Looked good in that department. I mean, that was his only return of the night, made the most of it. But then he had 9 for 37 and a touchdown. But he looked, again, bouncing to the outside. He scored a touchdown, a couple of really nice hard runs. Keaton Mitchell had those as well. I thought the running back position looked really, really good for them. And LaJohntay Wester, I mean, what else do we have to say? LaJohntay Wester. This man is your new Baltimore Ravens punt returner. This man showed you everything that you needed to see out of who you thought was going to be this punt returner. LaJohntay looked fast. He looked speedy. He looked agile. You could see the burst and the elusivity. LaJohntay highlight play. And that was actually a play we reacted. Again, we do the watch alongs now. We reacted to it on the show or on the stream. I thought LaJohntay could have bounced that ball outside and made something happen, but he just took it up the middle. He juked out guys, and he had a couple of really nice. It wasn't just the touchdown. I mean, he had 3 returns for 104 yards. He obviously had the 87-yarder, but I thought that LaJohntay, and then not only that, as a receiver, which we're going to get to this in a minute here, he was the Ravens' leading receiver, 2 for 41. And I'm looking over the box score for the first time right now. It is a disgusting box score wide receiver-wise. But LaJohntay made an awesome 30-yard catch up the sideline where he, kind of sat down for the ball and dove and got both feet down. And he also made another nice play. That was really all for LaJohntay Wester, but that was more than enough from what you needed to see out of this guy. This is exactly what you wanted to see. And I absolutely loved it. Now, in terms of the other wide receivers, right, I guess we had some fun talking about some good. We'll get some more good in the second part of the show, but I do want to get this because we're sticking with offense here in the first part of the show. It was rough for the quarterbacks. All right. I'm just going to call it like it is. Cooper Rush went 2 of 4 for 16 yards and an interception. First throw for him was an interception. You didn't really see him a lot, though. Like, John Harbaugh said he was fine with how Cooper Rush played. Devin Leary, the Ravens have a Devin Leary problem. All right, let's just call it like it is. And that's what I do here on Locked On Ravens. I truly want to have this show be something where it is real Ravens talk, right? I'm not going to try to sugarcoat anything. If something is good, it's good. If something is bad, it's bad. Devin Leary was bad. He went 3 of 12 for 43 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception, was not getting zip on his throws, was not locating the ball properly. It was a really bad game for Devin Leary. It was really bad. And Cooper Rush has been up and down during training camp so far and just the offseason in general, where he's had good days and he's had bad days. John Harbaugh said that it was surprising to see Devin Leary have the night that he had. So clearly, not good from even John Harbaugh standards, which, it shouldn't be. It should not be whatsoever. But the Ravens have an issue here. Now, Cooper is a guy that we talked about this on the watch along. The Ravens can't get out of that contract. It'd be like $4 million in dead money. I don't expect the Ravens to get out of that deal. You need to bring in somebody else, though. I don't even think Devin Leary's the answer on the practice squad. Like, maybe he bounces back these next 2 games, but at this point, and I see KBZ talking about Tyler Huntley, who went back to Cleveland. I think that a couple of other options could be available if they're cut. Like right now, the best option for you is Carson Wentz. And it's Carson Wentz and pretty much nobody else who's available. Logan Woodside is out there. Mike White is out there. I'd be fine with them bringing in Carson Wentz. Now, he probably is looking for a deal as a backup, and the Ravens have that in Cooper Rush. I would not be shocked whatsoever if the Ravens just brought back Tyler Huntley, because I believe he's going to be cut from Cleveland once it's all said and done. They brought him in due to the injuries of their position there. I truly think that Snoop is just going to come back. Like, I just think it is what it is. They cannot move forward with Devin Leary. It's been, not a lot of progression. It was the same thing last preseason where it was like we saw a flash or two, but then it wasn't a lot. But this is what I'm saying. And Quincy, this is a point, and I talked about this on the watch along, and I tweeted it out as well. I feel awful for these wide receivers. Like, I genuinely feel horrible for these wide receivers. How are the receivers going to compete? You're correct. How are they going to compete? I want to read off this to you here. 3 of 12 for 43 yards and an interception for Devin Leary. That's one thing. LaJohntay Wester, 2 for 41. All right. Other than that, Tylan Wallace was the Ravens' second leading receiver, 1 reception for 9 yards. Charlie Kohler had 1 for 7. D'Ernest Johnson had 1 for 2. Everybody else had no catches. Keith Kirkwood, no catches, 1 target. Miller, no catches, 2 targets. Scotty Washington, no catches, 1 target. Dayton Wade had 3 targets, couldn't get the ball. And Dayton Wade had a better game than 0 catches for 0 yards. Devin Leary just cannot give him the football. Ali on 1 target, no catches. Tez Walker made actually a nice play on the ball. He was just out of bounds. He drew PI on it. But the Ravens need to have a better third-string quarterback. And if they want to roll with Cooper Rush, then okay. Fine. It is what it is there. But you need to have a better third-string option than Devin Leary. Now, I will say on the flip side of this, if your biggest qualm with the Ravens roster is the backup quarterback position, your roster's in a pretty good spot. But there were some other things we're going to have to talk about in the second part of the show regarding a particular offensive lineman that I know a lot of people are talking about. So be sure you stay tuned. We have a lot coming your way on this instant reaction edition of Locked On Ravens after they pick up their Week 1 preseason win over the Colts. First, the show is brought to you by FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel's the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. And I've been using FanDuel to track my favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. It's easy to use, fast to pay out, and makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. Whether I'm placing a same-game parlay or watching a bet right into the 9th inning, FanDuel makes it feel like I'm a part of the action. And look, for the Orioles, it's been a rough go of things. Obviously, this is Locked On Ravens, so, by proxy, I am an Orioles fan. It's been a rough go. And over on FanDuel, if you actually want to look at the World Series odds, the Orioles right now are right at the bottom of that, plus 100,000. So, hey, if you're feeling spicy about that and you want to throw something on the Orioles there, you can. They have it over there on FanDuel, but yeah, it's a tough scene for the Orioles right now. If you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Back here on Locked On Ravens, Kevin Oestreicher talking with you after the Ravens Week 1 preseason win over the Indianapolis Colts, 24-16. The final score. Appreciate everybody for being here. Little late night action. It's about 11 p.m. East Coast time. We had to watch along earlier on. We sat for 3 hours, watched the game. We reacted to the game. It was a really fun time. That's something we're doing here now on Locked On Ravens. We're doing it for every game moving forward. So if you didn't know, now you know. Be sure to check back in next week for the Locked On Ravens watch along. But let's continue diving into the offense, then we'll move on to defense. Daniel Falele had a pretty rough go of it in this one. Stock definitely down for me on him. I just, they're stuck unless they want to play Ben Cleveland there. Now, the only other option for them would be to bring in Brandon Sheriff. And I'm 100% on board with that. Sheriff is still a very quality NFL starting offensive lineman. I don't feel confident. Like, it was something I was always on the fence on of like, yeah, he showed improvement last season, but the improvement was from like a very bad showing, and he still had moments. Like, he tried to get in shape. It is what it is. Now, on that play where he got bowled over, there's also important added context where he did get under, or he got like the center's foot got under him. So he was kind of taken off balance a little bit, but there was still a couple of the plays like he ended up, on the ground. It was just, it's tough. And yeah, I guess Maximilian, I do have to mention it's Pro Bowler Daniel Falele to everybody. So we got to put some respect on the name. All right. I just want to make that clear. But, at this point, I feel like there's not the plan B option unless it is Ben Cleveland. And after that, you're really in trouble. Patrick McCary's now in Jacksonville. Like I thought Voorhees had a decent game. I think he sealed really well on the Mitchell play. Like he had a lot of he had moments, but Falele didn't. And I just think it's concerning. All right. This is the preseason. The Colts didn't have all their guys out there. Now, the Colts still played talented players. I don't want to just say the Colts played nobody. They did. But it's tough. And we saw pressure. Now, there was no Linderbaum. There was no Stanley. Rosengarten played, and Voorhees played along with Falele. But I don't know. I don't. I think Sheriff is your best option. I mean, I would bring him in. What's the harm in it? There's no harm. Now, from Sheriff's perspective, he probably wants to start somewhere, and he's not going to sign until he knows there's a starting opportunity. And that's kind of what happens in the preseason when guys go down, right? More opportunities open up. That's when some of these vets who haven't signed yet in August, that's when they end up signing on with different teams. But, and I see TJF saying it here. I wouldn't be mad if the Ravens alternated in Ben Cleveland and didn't. Like, I just don't think it should be a surefire, hey, this guy's won the job without actually showing that he should win the job, right? I think that they were too quick to call that, in my opinion. And clearly he's going to be the guy, it feels like. So, yeah, and this is true. This is a good point, and I'm glad you brought this up, Maximilian. Lamar maxed the deficiencies so well, it's going to look rough with Leary and Rush. It's true. So, Lamar can do things that Devin Leary and Cooper Rush can't. A lot of things that they can't. So we will see how that unfolds. Defensively, a lot of good defensively. I thought they played really well defensively. A lot of the outside linebackers make noise. Mike Green showed the bend, showed the athleticism. I mean, so let's just do general stats, and then we'll dive into some of that. Bo Braid led the team in tackles with 7. TJ Tampa followed him up with 6. I thought TJ was on and off. I thought he played solid yet unspectacular, and he made some plays late in the game to kind of cover up. AD Mitchell had a couple plays on him. But I thought, nothing with the whole game, there's nothing too bad to complain about with TJ Tampa. I thought he was fine. He made a couple of really nice plays. The stick on the run, I believe it was. He had a couple. But yeah, I mean, Adisa Isaac, he played well. He had a sack and 4 tackles. I thought that David Ajabo had a really nice game. He's fighting for a roster spot. He had 2 tackles and a sack as well. Now, that was on a busted Indianapolis blocking scheme. You always have to block the outside man, and the Colts didn't do that. So, Anthony Richardson got a face full of David Ajabo when it came to the when it came to that play. Actually injured his finger on that. He didn't return. So hopefully Anthony Richardson is okay. And then I thought Mike Green played well too. He only had 2 tackles, wasn't credited with a sack, but he and Adisa Isaac on that play that Isaac was credited for a sack. Both of them got past, and you could see like Mike Green, and Q talked about this. He ducked under, and he had a couple of almost plays. His motor was there. You could clearly see him running after as well. I thought Aeneas Peebles played well on defense. And then you also look at others. I think who had a huge hit? It was CJ Okoye. CJ Okoye, I thought, played well. He's someone that I think is definitely a practice squad player for them. But I also want to highlight two undrafted guys, Jay Higgins and Chandler Martin. I thought both of those guys absolutely balled out. There are spots to be had in that inside linebacker room. We know that the four that are going to be there, it's Roquan Smith, Trenton Simpson, Jay Kummel, and Teddy Buchanan. And Buchanan, I thought he was only okay, like had some rough moments, but had a couple of solid plays. Teddy Buchanan, people did not like it. I'm curious, if you're live with us, you're in the comments, how did you feel Teddy Buchanan played tonight, if you were able to watch him at all? I thought he made a couple of nice plays, but a lot of people were not very happy with Teddy Buchanan. Was getting caught up on tight ends, and, that apparently was the big story, which, I mean, I saw, but, man, I just underwhelming, I guess, is what it would be, especially because there was a lot of hype around him. I get it, but hopefully he can bounce back next week. I see Maximilian aggressively mid. Okay, all right, maybe that's what we'll go with. So, yeah, I don't know for the Ravens if they're going to keep more than 4 inside linebackers. I mean, they clearly could. They could keep 5. It might be that Higgins and Martin are fighting for one roster spot and to be that 5th guy, and then the other one ends up on the practice squad. That is certainly a possibility. I'm not sure how that would work. Now, Higgins obviously was the one who had the interception, and CJ Ravenel, I want to mention him real quick. CJ Ravenel had a really good game. He had a couple of nice stops, as well as getting to Riley Leonard on that interception that Jay Higgins had. So he ended up having 3 tackles on the day and a quarterback hit, which was really good from him. But again, like, you didn't see a lot of the Ravens big guys play. Like, Brent Urban got some action, which was nice. Trenton Simpson was in there as well. He didn't really pop to me at all. But, you look at the team stats, and one area I looked at was the penalties. The Ravens had 7 penalties in this game for 43 yards. So obviously still something they have to clean up. The Colts were worse, though, 9 for 107. But I think the big thing that I look at here is, again, how much can you judge a game off of how bad they were in the pass catching, or not pass catching, in the pass department? Like, I'm not going to blame the receivers. Like, I just don't think that, it is what it is. And we actually just got an update on Bilal Kone from John Harbaugh. He tore ligaments in the knee, but clean as far as only ligaments and not structural. So it apparently, could have been a lot worse, even though it was very, very bad. Like, there are some other things that could have gone wrong. So you hate to see it for him. Really promising young player. I had a lot of high hopes for him, but he's gonna have to work to get back. So at the end of the day, I liked what I saw, and then of course we cannot end the defense segment without also getting into special teams. I think we have to go defense and special teams here. Tyler Loop, some mixed results on the day. He went 1 for 2 on field goals. He had a 52-yarder, and then he missed from 46. Now, John Harbaugh clarified that he actually stubbed his toe on that 46-yarder. So I guess there's context to that. He said he wouldn't grade it A+++ like he did last time for the stadium practice. He gave it a B+, went 3 for 3 on extra points, but that's just what it's going to be here. And look, it's not that like I'm making excuses for the missed kicks or anything, but I think we all just have to give him time. Like, I know that's hard because of where the Ravens are and the Super Bowl aspirations. Like, I get it. I'm not saying give him the whole season. If it's not working in season, he might have to make a change, right? But I think that at the end of the day, he's still a guy that has the leg. And I think, actually, British Raven, if you're here, you might have mentioned this on the Ryan Ripken show. You can't teach leg, right? If a guy has a leg, he has a leg. You can teach technique. You can teach fundamentals. And the Ravens clearly have a type. They clearly have a type. So I just say it's okay to be frustrated at the missed kicks. I get it. But, and I see TJF saying it here, I am just going to give him some grace. I truly am. Jordan Stout on the day, 5 for 241, average 48.2. He had a longest 63 and pinned the Colts back in the 20 once. I know there have been mixed reviews on Jordan Stout. It's always tough to fill Sam Cook's shoes. I get it and I understand it. So I'm curious actually if we can get a special guest on the squad show tonight, if we can ask him about what he saw in those plays. But if not, we'll get him back on soon. So I think that, again, The Ravens, yeah, and this is it. Cowden's saying he missed one kick because of a stub toe. I think that you saw it in the stadium practice, and I love how for him most of those kicks are just straight down the middle. Like even from 52, like it's not like it's like squeaking in, is it going? Like no, like it is straight down the middle with room to spare. The potential's clearly there. For Tyler Loop. So I'm excited to see what he can do. And I think overall the Ravens, and I see SG talking about this, that, he'd love to see the skill position players competing. Rough day for the White House, but not really their fault. Hopefully Rush and Larry are better next week. I mean, that's what it is. The Ravens were hitting hard. They were trying to force turnovers. Like there were so many things that I thought they did well tonight. Now, it doesn't mean they did everything, right? There were certainly some plays and players that didn't step up to the plate, but I was really pumped with how they ended up performing. So coming up to the final part of the show, we're going to be diving into some other takeaways and other trends that we can take away from this game because there are still plenty of them to talk about. Stay tuned. A lot to get to coming up on this instant reaction edition of Locked On Ravens. This show is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. It's the best time of the year. NFL kickoff's almost here, and that means fantasy football season is back in full swing. And this year, Yahoo Fantasy's turning things up with a fantasy football experience like never before. This year, me and Locked On Ravens are playing fantasy on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league. And one of my favorite features is a new guillotine leagues. They just dropped, and every week, the lowest scoring teams eliminated and the last one standing wins. Whether you're all in on something new or you like sticking to head-to-head leagues or jumping into public leagues, Yahoo has got you covered. Celebrate 28 years of fantasy football greatness. Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days throughout August. Kick it off, they just dropped Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine Leagues, a killer new way to play fantasy football on Yahoo, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated each week until there's only one team left standing. With the season around the corner, now's the time to get your league together. Give this new mode a try. If you're more into the classics, you can still play in head-to-head private leagues or join a public league. Stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. Appreciate everybody for being here with me tonight on Locked On Ravens live. And if you're watching after the fact in video form or listening after the fact in audio form, thank you as well. 5 days a week here on Locked On Ravens, Monday through Friday. So we'll be back here tomorrow with another episode diving into everything that happened in the Ravens week 1 game against the Colts in the preseason. And we'll actually be back here after this with the Locked On Ravens squad show live. So if you want even more live Ravens coverage and content, be sure to check out myself, Sam Njoku, and Kadri Ismail, and potentially a special guest. We'll see if he's available or not. But be sure to like and subscribe button again. Tell a friend, tell a family member. Again, we have the Locked On Ravens watch-alongs now. So if you want a place to watch the games with other Ravens fans during the season, we'll be here every week on Locked On Ravens, reacting to the game live. Play-by-play was a really fun time the first time out. Tonight had over 9,000 people initially check in and stop through. So really appreciate everyone for tuning into that, and really excited to build on that. Really excited to build on the show. Let's keep talking about takeaways. And by the way, before we get into a little bit more, I want to gauge the chat, whether you're live with us or you're watching after in video form or in audio form. You can message me on social media. Give the Ravens a grade for this game as a whole. So you can involve Keaton Mitchell, you can involve Falele, you can involve the quarterbacks, LaJohntay Wester. What grade would you give the Ravens for this game? If I was leaning, I would probably give the Ravens a B plus. I'd say B plus. And the reason I say B plus, I might even. Am I gonna get spicy? I'm gonna go B plus. And the reason I say B plus is because I think that what we saw from most of these guys are guys that you're hopefully gonna have contributing for you this season. All of the negative from me came from Daniel Falele. At least most of it. Obviously, the third string quarterback position, backup quarterback position, that's something you have to figure out. But in an ideal world, that position is not going to, that's not going to impact you as long as Lamar Jackson's healthy. Now, if Lamar's healthy, we can have a different conversation. But I think that Keaton showed enough, LaJohntay showed enough, Mike Green, Adisa Isaac, David Ajabo. I think that those guys showed us enough to be like, I feel pretty good about the game. Now, do I feel good about Falele? No, I don't. Do I feel good about Devin Leary? No, I don't. Right? No, I don't. And I see a lot of Bs, a lot of B minuses, C pluses. I think the lowest grade we've gotten so far is a C minus potentially, or maybe I'm just seeing things. I think I'm seeing things. I think C is the lowest grade we've gotten so far. And I see, Troll saying here, B or B plus. There are more positives than negatives. Keaton and Wester showing huge promise. Most issues are fixable. And that's what you want. You want them to build off of this game. It's week 1 of the preseason. You want them to hopefully build off of it in practice this week and heading into next week's game. So I'm just hopeful that they can build on that. I would expect to see Falele next week. I would expect to see Voorhees next week. Both of those guys should be in the game. So, at the end of the day, I think that Baltimore has some things to work on, but we also saw a lot of positives as well. And also, one guy I forgot to mention on defense, and I apologize for missing him, Jalen Armour-Davis had a really good game. He's competing for a roster spot, fighting for a job. Jalen Armour-Davis was all over the football when it was thrown his way. A lot of nice pass breakups. Thought he was in the right position a lot of the time. I thought JAD played really, really well. Now, it's not going to show on the stat sheet. He only had 1 tackle, but he had 2 pass breakups. And I think that, again, not like when you have tackles as a cornerback, it's not always a good thing. It means the ball's getting thrown your way a lot and you are having to tackle that guy pretty immediately after the snap. Now, sometimes it can be fine, if you're helping him run support and other avenues as well. But I thought the JAD played really well. And honestly, with the injury to Bilal Kone, I would say that his roster spot is safe. I would say that JAD, as long as he stays healthy, he's going to make the roster. Feels like the Ravens feel really good about him in a lot of different areas. They're trying him out at safety at times, but the thing with JAD has been health. It's been injuries. He hasn't been able to stay on the field. And if he's able to show that a little bit, I think it's going to be important for him. Malaki also, I thought, not a lot of flashes from Malaki. He was in there making tackles, finished, what did he finish with on the day? Malaki, did he make the stat sheet? Yeah, he had 1 tackle. So, he was in there, didn't really pop, but, sometimes with these games, no news is good news, right? Like sometimes if you're not shining, then the other side of that is you're not. And Malaki just thought he was there. So it was cool to see the Ravens also get really hyped for them. Like the energy you could clearly see was there. They were clearly prioritizing getting right for the regular season. The mindset that Marlon Humphrey has shared about where he wants the defense to be. Like I truly think that the whole team, and really there are a lot of whole team things that you can take away from this. Like the turnovers, obviously them trying to punch the ball out. And I talked about this on the watch along, where the mindset is whenever you attempt to punch the ball out, whenever you attempt it, there's a chance that the ball gets jarred loose. If you never attempt it, the ball's never going to get jarred loose. Never. So it's about just being able to give as many of those opportunities to yourself as you can as things roll along. So I'm glad that they're prioritizing that. We saw TJ Tampa have a stab at the ball, a couple others. And sometimes you have to prioritize the tackle, right? But when there's an opportunity, we know Marlon's going to take it. We know some of those guys are going to take it. And the team thing as well, where everybody's doing the Jaire Alexander celebration now. Everybody's doing it. We saw Peebles do it. We saw TJ Tampa do it, I believe. A couple of the other younger undrafted players, I think, did it as well. So it just feels like the team is pretty united this season. Obviously, there was a lot of drama last year and last offseason. We'll actually have something to say about that. I might do a bonus episode over the weekend about a former Raven that I think we've all grown sick of hearing about. But, when a headline's a headline, it's a headline. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But the Ravens had a lot of drama last year, right? And it was uncharacteristic. It feels like the team's united this season. A lot of good things you can take away from this game. And yeah, SG, talking about Aeneas Peebles, I mentioned him earlier. He fell because of his size. He's not a 3-down player at this point in his career. He might never be. He might just be a rotational pass rusher. But he was one of the most talented pass rushers in the draft. Some of his pass rush metric win rates were on par with Derrick Harmon, who was the Steelers' 1st-round pick. TJ Sanders was the Bills' 2nd-round pick. It was just his size. And I don't dock guys for size the way that some people do. I think that if you can play, you can play. And Aeneas Peebles certainly can play. So I liked what I saw tonight. I liked what I saw. Was it perfect? Absolutely not. But I think the positives do outweigh the negatives. And, we'll see if the Ravens want to make any more. I'm sure they will, because of the fact that, apparently they have to evaluate the running back position with Rasheen Ali getting banged up. Maybe they want to bring another quarterback. Maybe Brandon Sheriff comes in. I'm not sure. But at the end of the day, I liked what I saw from this Ravens club, and I'm really excited to see how they can build on that in practice this week leading up to next week's preseason game. But that's all I have for you here today on Locked On Ravens. Really appreciate everybody, but we're not done. We're going to go and do the Locked On Ravens squad show now. So we had the watch along. Now we're at the post game. Now we're moving in to the Locked On Ravens squad show. So we're going to be back with that in a little bit here. So be sure you stay tuned. I know it's late, but if you want more Ravens content, stay up with us. Or if you don't, you can catch it in the morning. We'll also have a regular Locked On Ravens episode, 6 a.m. Eastern time, as we always do. So be sure on the way out, hit the like and subscribe button in video form, follow along in audio form, and I'll see you right back here soon on Locked On Ravens.